Castor oil or sesame oil? Both are incredibly powerful when it comes to their anti-inflammatory properties. Both have incredible reputations when it comes to anti-aging. But which one is truly superior? In this episode, we'll take a look at the latest research and uncover the unique properties of each of these oils, from wound recovery to wrinkle reduction and beyond. By the end of this episode, my promise is that you will know which of these oils is best for you. All right, let's get to it. We're going to talk about all the oils, but before we do, I want to double check and make sure that you are subscribed, right? I hope so. That'd be so weird if you weren't. Okay, let's talk oils. So I want to start by saying you probably have stumbled upon this video because you've maybe watched other castor oil videos, or you've got an interest in castor oil, or maybe you've seen my previous castor oil video. So I want to start with the fact that both of these oils are amazing. And at the moment, I don't have a super reputable sesame oil brand to recommend to you that I'm positive is doing third-party lab testing. I can share with you the research that I found. It just feels like there's a lot more companies making castor oil, and you're probably going to know why in just a moment. And the one that does third-party lab testing is Queen of the Thrones. And so I'm a big fan of Queen of the Thrones when it comes to castor oil, but I'm also a big fan, frankly, of sesame oil, and I think you're going to be too after watching this. First of all, let's talk about their similarities. Both oils are considered exceptional when it comes to moisturizing the skin. Both oils are antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Both oils have properties that hydrate the skin, that plump the skin, but at the same time can reduce swelling. Both oils are considered carrier oils, meaning these are oils that carry other ingredients into your skin, and they're also carrier oils, meaning you can use them to mix with essential oils. Okay, now let's talk about how these oils are different. First of all, I would say viscosity, and viscosity is just a fancy way of saying the thickness of these oils. Castor oil is definitely thicker. It is thicker. It has a little bit more of a tacky or sticky feeling to it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Although sesame oil is a little more runny, a little more watery, if you will. Because it's more watery, like when you're going to put it on, it can sometimes, the sesame oil can actually even be more messy because of the thickness of castor oil. When you pour it in your hand, it's not going to just like leak through your hands, but the sesame oil is a little thinner. Now, that could be a good thing for you, or for some, you want the thicker consistency. That thicker consistency has pros and cons, in my opinion. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion, because my skin is so freaking dry if I don't use castor oil, that I feel like castor oil is the go-to if you have like insanely dry alligator skin. Like if you're menopausal and like your skin just loses its elasticity and that like natural suppleness, I think castor oil is a godsend. I think that the sesame oil is wonderful, and I think it's ideal for someone who has normal to oily skin, but for sure the castor oil is it's like a mega hydrator, but it is slower to absorb into the skin. So if you're someone who needs to get dressed very quickly and you don't have time for your skin or for the oil to seep into your skin, well, then you might choose sesame. You might actually use both oils, to be frank. I use both oils. But if I really want to hydrate my skin, I'm going to use castor oil. If I want to put on oil very, very quickly and get dressed just a few minutes later, then I might use sesame oil. In terms of the odor, well, let's just do a test, okay? Let's do a little test. Okay. In terms of the odor, I love the smell of castor oil. I know in a previous video I said it has no scent whatsoever, but it does. It's kind of a nutty, I don't know. Do you see the smile on my face? Gosh, that just it makes me so happy. But they're very similar to me. I think kind of like the way a cashew has a smell and an almond has a smell. They both have kind of a nutty smell. I would say maybe the castor oil is a little bit stronger. I probably have oil on my nose now, or maybe it's just more familiar to me, but neither of them have much of a smell, but it's like a very natural kind of nutty smell. Both of them have that. And as I've mentioned in my previous video, I've got like lots of tips on ways that you can make, if you love castor oil, but you don't love how thick it is, or maybe you don't like the smell of either of those oils. There are lots of things you can add to them, like essential oils, to improve the scent and also to make them go on, especially the castor oil. Like you can add other carrier oils to it. Like you can mix sesame oil and castor oil. Both oils are very high in their fatty acid content. That's why they're both equally hydrating. Both of them are incredible at holding moisture into your skin. But the castor oil has ricinoleic acid and the sesame oil has linoleic acid. And both oils have anti-inflammatory properties. Now here's what's interesting. There's a lot more research on sesame oil than there is castor oil, which is kind of surprising to me because, as I'm sure you've probably noticed, castor oil is having a moment. Like everybody and their brother is talking about castor oil. Like I kind of feel like I'm late to the party. Everyone I know who's like thinking about how to have fewer toxins in their life, how to minimize their exposure to things that can cause cancer, things that can disrupt hormones. Everyone I know who's focused on that has been talking about castor oil. That's how I was turned on to castor oil. In fact, my integrative doctor suggested I use castor oil to help repair a paralyzed vocal cord that I have. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, it's going to help with the inflammation. So I wear a pack on my neck to help with the inflammation, as I've mentioned. And so I would have thought that there's a lot more research on castor oil. So as I started to do my research on castor oil, the thing that kept coming up was all the research on sesame oil. In fact, a study in 2022 found that when compared to other vegetable and seed oils like flax and poppy seed and black cumin, sesame oil exhibited a 63% antioxidant activity to help neutralize free radicals and protect the skin from UV rays. In other words, there's been studies shown that sesame oil, when applied to your skin, works as a natural UV. Now, it's not enough to protect you from a super high UV index, but it does provide a rather significant natural protection from UV rays. But here's the thing. That's not to say that castor oil doesn't provide some type of UV protection. We don't know because we haven't done that study. I just wanted to say, if you watch a lot of my videos, or maybe you've spent a lot of time with me, or maybe you're just getting to know me and you enjoy this and you want to know like the personal side of things, I have a Patreon that's very personal. It's like my diary. It's like Dear Diary. In fact, my husband's often on there with me. It's the stuff that I don't feel like I wouldn't feel comfortable putting on YouTube. I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable putting on my regular podcast. It's like you're hanging out with us. And I've done some deep dives. It's very unfiltered. And if that's something that you're interested in checking out, you can try it for free. If you're brand new to Patreon, just go to patreon.com/The Chalene Show. Try it out for 7 days. If you like it, stick around. If not, you can cancel. Anyways, let's get back to the oils. Another study published in 2023 in PubMed looked at the comparison of pulling oils for the prevention of tooth decay and tooth plaque, comparing sesame oil and coconut oil. That study found that coconut oil and sesame oil were both equally effective at reducing gingivitis, at reducing tooth decay, at reducing, what's the word for bad breath? Halitosis. Again, that's not to say, however, that castor oil isn't equally effective when it comes to oil pulling. By the way, would you like me to do a whole video on oil pulling? I'm like not the expert, but I've started doing it like probably 2 weeks ago while doing this research. I'm like, okay, if there's research to substantiate that this is an effective way to kill bacteria in your mouth, to help perhaps even whiten the teeth and to improve your overall gut health, I'm going to do oil pulling, which is, it's basically the act of like swishing oil around in your mouth. And there's a ton of videos I've watched on it, but I wanted to see the research. I'm like, does this really work? Because I don't really want to swish. That does not sound like fun, swishing oil around in my mouth. The first day that I did, I was like, this is so gross. But I used castor oil. And I couldn't find any studies on castor oil and oil pulling, but I saw all the studies on sesame oil and coconut oil. And just from doing my research from integrative doctors and people who are experts on castor oil is just as effective when it comes to antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial. So Coconut oil, sesame oil, castor oil, all three great for oil pulling. It's a question of like, how thick do you want the oil, right? And some people are like, well, if you use coconut oil, it's thinner, it's easier to swish around in your mouth. And then there are those who are in the camp of like, you actually don't want it to be easier. You want it to be thicker because it helps the muscles in your jaw and it helps to improve your overall appearance. Like there's a lot of crazy anecdotal, I know, research. I shouldn't say research. There's a lot of anecdotal proof. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence to suggest that oil pulling is one of the best ways to improve the overall appearance of your face and jawline. So if that's something you'd like me to do a deep dive on and to do another episode for you about that, let me know. But yeah, so I started doing the oil pulling. It's weird. I'm going to be honest. It's weird at first, but now I'm like kind of getting used to it. And I just do it while I'm getting ready in the morning. And I've done it with the sesame oil and I've done it with the castor oil. And personally, I'm kind of more a fan of the castor oil. But again, the research is on sesame oil. Go figure. Okay, now don't judge me, but I'm going to be all the way honest. Your girl is like I embrace the fake, right? Like the lashes, the makeup, the hair, the extensions, the nails, all of it, right? And I recently had a little bit of lip filler put in just to bring things back to where they once were. Like they were looking a little saggy and baggy. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, when I went and did my lip filler, I mean, they're still like so small. You're like, really? You should get a refund. Anyways, I've done it before. I did it about 3 years ago. Has it been 3 years? Probably like 2.5 years ago. I did it, and I've done it many times before that too. And every time I get lip filler, and you're like, wait a second, you're doing a video about natural products and you do lip filler? Yeah, it's called balance. I'm keeping it real with you. Anyway, so I did the lip filler, and every time I've done in the past, I was so bruised, I could not go out in public for like a week. Just like really dark bruises anywhere where they gave me an injection. And so when I went to do my lip injections last week, she was like, don't plan anything for like 3 or 4 days afterward because you're going to really swell, probably. Most people do. And there's usually some bruising. And I'm like, absolutely. Every time I've done it, I've got like pretty bad bruising and I'm pretty swollen. Like the first couple of days, you look crazy, like literally crazy. And so I was anticipating it. But I had just finished doing the research for this episode. And what I found was the study that looked at the minimization of bruising and the reduction of pain and inflammation for a control group, a double-blind control group. They used sesame oil on people who had traumatic limb injuries. Now, listen, this isn't a limb injury, but I was like, okay, so they basically just took people who had a traumatic injury and they applied sesame oil. And what they found is that people who in the double-blind study that they applied the sesame oil to had a dramatic reduction of bruising and pain. So I'm like, well, that's convincing enough for me to put this stuff all over my lips. And I did. I came home and I was just like, I put the sesame oil all over my lips. Now, I could have done the castor oil, but the research I had read was on sesame oil. So I put that all over my lips. I wish I had photos to show you, but I couldn't show you anything because I didn't get any bruising whatsoever. Within an hour after I had the injections, I wasn't swollen at all. At all. Crazy. Yeah, so I can't wait to tell my doctor about that. So again, would I have had the same exact benefit from the castor oil? I don't know, but both of these oils have me so excited because they're all natural, because they're anti-inflammatory, because they're antifungal, because they're antimicrobial. So it's like completely safe to use on your scars, on your wound care, you obviously don't want to use it on an open wound. I'm not your doctor. Check with your doctor. Of course, I just pretend to play one here on the podcast. But I just think these oils are amazing. Like I use my castor oil on my scars. I had a breast reduction last year, and I use them on my scars every single day. I use it twice a day with a rose quartz ball applicator, so it's not so messy. And I think both oils are amazing. Here's what I can tell you is the biggest difference between the two of them. Okay. Let's keep our fingers crossed that I pronounce this correctly. Comedogenic. That is a rating where we take a look at oils and determine what is the likelihood that this oil will clog. It'll clog pores and could cause acne or could stunt hair growth. And I will tell you this, on a scale of 0 to 5, which is how they rate oils, castor oil has the lowest score of all the oils. Almost all the oils. It's like a 1, whereas sesame oil is a 3. With that in mind, if you're acne prone, I would go with castor oil. If you're applying it to your scalp for hair regrowth, even though people say all the time to use sesame oil on your scalp, if it's comedogenic, if it's got a higher clogging rating than castor oil, then use castor oil. In conclusion, I have to say, I think both oils are amazing. I like mixing both of them. I love both oils. Both oils should be 100% organic. They should both be in glass bottles, ideally opaque so that they're not degraded by sunlight. And even the lights in your home can degrade the oils, especially castor oil. Now, castor oil, I've since learned that you never want to even put a plastic dispenser even inside a glass bottle, because castor oil is so powerful it can even soften the plastic in the tube that you're using for your dispenser. So use a glass Doppler or a glass straw if you're using a pump with your castor oil. Always make sure both oils, almost all oils, are in glass bottles. You want to make sure that they're hexane free. You also want to make sure that they're either expeller or cold pressed. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy whether you should use castor oil that's expeller pressed or cold pressed. Let me invite Dr. Marisol to explain the process or the difference between expeller and cold press when it comes to castor oil, because I think this is going to make a lot more sense.
This is a hot topic right now. It needs to be cold pressed. Well, that's not necessarily true, because let me ask you, would you rather a cold press that has a higher toxic level or an expeller pressed that has a lower toxic level?
Yeah, keep the toxins out.
Exactly.
We're trying to get them out with castor oil.
100%. And the thing is that castor oil actually is heat resistant. It has a heating point where it starts to get denatured of over 230 degrees Fahrenheit. And expeller pressing the oil only brings up the heat to about 180, max to 210 degrees Fahrenheit. So you still have leeway with expeller pressed. So that's why we always test. And that actually is one of the things that differentiates Queen of the Thrones from all the other castor oil.
I want to just be completely transparent and say I had completely fallen in love with castor oil. And because of that, I started doing my research on how do you find a really good brand, a reputable brand, one that is gold standard, does, third-party lab testing. And based on my research, I landed upon, I should say, Queen of the Thrones. And Queen of the Thrones, at that time, I didn't have any affiliation with them. I just recommended it in one of my earliest videos. And when I did that, the CEO of Queen of the Thrones reached out to me and said, hey, would you like a discount code for your followers? And I'm like, always. So if there's any brands out there that I happen to mention in any episodes, if they reach out to me and are like, would you like a discount code for your people? I'm always going to say yes. But please know that when I give you a discount code, in most instances, the way that this all works is you get a discount and then I get a little percentage of each sale. It's tiny, but it adds up. And I think it's important for me to disclose that, but also to say to you, I don't care if you use my code. You can use somebody else's. You can pay full price. I just do that as a convenience to you. But I always tell the companies when I do something like that, please understand, I have to be honest. I always have to tell the truth. And that's really, really important to me. And so that's why I'm making this video, because when I started doing all of my research for castor oil and I wanted to see what kind of research has been done on castor oil, there's not a lot. Not as much as you would hope that there would be. And again, as I've said, I have a link below for Queen of the Thrones castor oil. You can use that link. I do get a small percentage when you place an order there. I don't have a special link for you where you get a discount from the sesame oil. And I have to say, it was really hard to find a sesame oil that is sold in a glass bottle. but I did. It's from JMac. It's organic. It's cold pressed. It's unrefined. It's chemical free. It's 100% organic. To be completely transparent, I haven't done a lot of research about this company yet. I don't know if they do third-party lab testing. If you know of a company that produces organic sesame oil that is hexane-free, that is cold-pressed, and that comes in a glass bottle, and you know that they do third-party lab testing, please drop a comment below for us, and I will really appreciate hearing from you because, as a community, we can help each other. I mean, that's how I found out about Queen of the Thrones, because I heard from you guys. If you're a castor oil newbie, there are some mistakes you definitely want to avoid. Some things you kind of need to know. It does have a little bit of a learning curve. So I want you to check out the episode that I did about the biggest mistakes, the things you want to avoid when it comes to castor oil. And if you just want to learn more about castor oil, check out this video I did where I basically did a deep dive into all of the amazing benefits and anti-aging properties, anti-inflammatory properties, and all of the health benefits of castor oil. Thank you for being here. Thank you for leaving your comments and your questions and letting me know what you'd like for me to cover next. Before you go, double check and make sure that you're subscribed. Don't forget to like this video, and I will see you in our next one. Thanks for being here. Bye. You scared the shit out of me. My God.
Why are you on the ground?
Because you just scared the shit out of
You're
me.
just walking down to say,
Oh my God, I got goosebumps. Scared the shit out of me.
sorry, what am I supposed to do? You know there's a man that lives here too.
Oh my God. Well, because I was filming the video and I heard voices, and the TV in there was just turned on.
Oh.
So then I went to turn the TV off. We caught all that on video. I bet that's really funny.
Lay down.
Okay, I love you. I'll be right up. That was so freaky because I heard like voices. And then the TV just came on in the kitchen, and then you saw Brett just scared the bejesus out of me. Where was I?